I never thought I'd find myself in a situation like this, but here we are. My name's David, and I've been married to Lisa for about 6 years now. When we first got together, everything was pretty perfect, fun, passionate, and she seemed genuinely into me. But somewhere along the way, something changed. I started noticing little things that didn't quite add up. Her phone would be more secretive than before, always hidden under her pillow or locked when I walked into the room. She became more irritable, snapping at me over stupid stuff, and she'd cancel plans last minute saying she was busy or tired. I brushed it off at first, thinking maybe she was stressed at work or just going through a rough patch. But then I started catching her stories. She'd come home late, claiming she was working late or meeting with friends. She'd smell different sometimes, like perfume I didn't recognize, or she'd have lipstick stains on her neck when I'd kiss her goodnight. I also noticed she was more dismissive about sex. Used to be she was eager and fiery, but now she'd give me half-hearted attempts or outright refuse. I asked her about it, and she'd always brush me off with some excuse. I'm tired, not in the mood, or worse, she'd say I was just being paranoid. One day I found her phone lying on the couch unlocked. I normally wouldn't go through her stuff, but something made me curious that day. I saw a string of messages between her and some guy named Mark. They weren't just friendly exchanges, they were flirty, suggestive, and there were multiple times they talked late into the night. I saw them talking about meeting up, joking about escaping their boring lives, and there was even a photo of Lisa in a revealing dress, captioned, "Can't wait to see you tonight, winking face." My stomach sank. I felt a mix of pain and anger twist inside me. How could she do this? I trusted her, I loved her, and now I was staring at proof that she had been lying right to my face. I didn't confront her immediately. I needed to process what I saw first. I spent the next few hours trying to piece together what this all meant, feeling betrayed and humiliated. I couldn't sleep that night, replaying those messages over and over. I thought about all the times she said she loved me, how she'd laughed at my jokes, and how I'd felt safe with her. Turns out she'd been sneaking around behind my back with a guy I used to respect, Mark, her boss's assistant, someone I'd actually spoken to a few times at work, always polite and professional. I had even asked Mark for help with her job networking once, trying to be a good husband and support her ambitions. Who would have thought that this same guy would end up in her bed? The next morning I was a mess. I kept telling myself I had to confront her. I couldn't let her keep lying and pretending everything was fine. I knew I had to face her, but I didn't know what to expect. How do you ask your wife who's been lying and cheating why she did it? How do you even start that conversation without losing everything? I was furious, heartbroken, and utterly confused, but I knew I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. That day, everything changed. I woke up feeling like I'd been hit by a truck. The weight of what I saw was pressing down on me all night, but this morning was when I really felt it. I didn't want to wake her up, not yet. I just sat there on the edge of the bed, staring at her, trying to come to terms with what I knew. My mind kept racing. How could she do this? After everything, after all the trust I'd given her. I thought we were solid, that we were building something real. But she was out there, sneaking around with Mark, lying to my face. I finally decided I had to confront her. I couldn't keep pretending I didn't know. I was angry but also devastated. I needed answers, even if I wasn't sure I was ready for her to give them. I got up quietly, grabbed her phone from the nightstand, and looked through her messages again. I needed proof, and I wanted her to own up to it. I found more flirtatious texts, plans to meet, even explicit messages. It was clear she was deep into this affair, and the worst part was knowing she'd lied to me for weeks about being just friends or working late. I waited until she finally woke up, her usual bitchy smirk already on her face when she saw me sitting there. "Morning, babe," she said, stretching. I stared at her, cold and quiet. She looked at me, annoyed. I could see that irritation building. I clenched her phone in my hand and slid it across the bed toward her. "Who is Mark, Lisa?" I asked quietly but firmly. Her face froze for a second. Then she rolled her eyes and scoffed, brushing me off. "What are you talking about? You're crazy. I don't know what you're trying to accuse me of." But I wasn't buying it. I looked at her and said, "Don't lie. I saw the messages, the late-night texts, the pictures. You've been cheating on me with your boss's assistant, Mark. How long has this been going on?" She rolled her eyes again, scoffing like I was some paranoid lunatic. "You're overreacting. You're just jealous because I don't give you enough attention. Mark's just someone I talk to for work, that's all. You're making a big deal out of nothing." But her tone was defensive and her body language said she was hiding something. I could see through her bullshit. I felt my stomach tighten, my fists clenched. I was furious, but I stayed calm. I wanted her to admit it, to own up. She kept lying, of course, insisting it was all a misunderstanding, that Mark was just a work friend, and that I was being overly paranoid. She said I was crazy for even suspecting her and threw in some excuses about how she was stressed and needed a break. But I knew better. I knew this wasn't just a bad day or work stress. It was a full-blown affair, and she'd been lying about it to my face for weeks. The betrayal hit me like a punch in the gut. I felt humiliated, angry, and more hurt than I'd ever been in my life. That moment, standing there with her bullshit excuses and her eyes avoiding mine, I felt something snap inside me. I knew I couldn't keep pretending everything was okay, that I could forgive her or sweep this under the rug. She had lied to me for so long, played me like a fool, and I was done. I needed to figure out what to do next, but I knew one thing for sure. I wouldn't be the same after this. My trust was shattered and I was staring down the barrel of a choice I wasn't sure I was ready to make. After that confrontation, everything changed. I remember sitting on the couch, staring at her, feeling like I was trapped in a nightmare I couldn't wake up from. She kept denying, throwing accusations back at me, calling me paranoid and insecure. Her words were sharp, bitchy, almost mocking. She told me I was overreacting, that Mark was just a harmless work friend, and that I was making a big deal out of nothing. But I wasn't buying her bullshit anymore. I felt this intense mix of anger, sadness, and betrayal boiling inside me. I spent the next few days in a fog. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw her texting Mark, saw her sneaking off behind my back. I'd catch myself staring at her, trying to read her expressions, trying to find some remorse or guilt, but she just kept acting like she didn't care. She'd go out with her friends, but I knew she'd probably see Mark, or at least talk to him. The more I looked, the clearer it became this wasn't just some fling. It was an affair, something she was hiding from me with a venomous secrecy. I decided I needed a plan. I couldn't just let her keep lying and acting like everything was fine. I wanted to see just how deep this rabbit hole went. I spent hours researching, thinking about my next move. I knew I'd have to be careful. I wanted to catch her in the act, or at least get more proof. I started following her, watching her routine, trying to find out where she was going when she left the house. I even installed a little GPS tracker on her car, just to be sure. That was hard for me, admitting I was spying on her, but I couldn't let her get away with this. Not after what I saw. One night, I got a call from a number I didn't know. It was Mark. I hesitated before answering, but I knew I had to hear it from him directly. When he picked up, his voice was casual, like he was talking about the weather. I greeted him coldly and asked what the hell he thought he was doing. He tried to deny everything, but I already had the messages to back up what I knew. I told him I knew about the affair, that I had proof, and that he was a piece of shit for doing this to someone I respected. His tone faltered, and he finally admitted they'd been seeing each other for a few weeks now. Hearing that made my blood boil. I was furious at both of them, Lisa for cheating, Mark for being such a scumbag, and betraying someone he probably saw as just a work buddy. I felt like my world was collapsing. I never thought I'd lose respect for my wife, but now I saw her in a different light. She was manipulative, bitchy, and completely dishonest. I realized I couldn't keep pretending I was okay with this. I had to decide what to do next. Part of me wanted to tear her apart, scream at her, tell her how much she'd hurt me. But I also knew this wasn't just about anger. It was about my future, about what kind of life I wanted to build after this betrayal. The next day, I knew I had to confront her again, but this time, with all the evidence clear in my mind. I didn't want her to keep lying or gaslighting me into doubting myself. I told her I'd found out everything about Mark, the texts, the meetings, all of it. Her reaction was something I'll never forget. She looked annoyed, almost bored, like I was bothering her with my petty accusations. She scoffed and rolled her eyes, saying, "Oh, so now you're spying on me. You're crazy, David. You're just jealous because I won't put up with your bullshit anymore." That comment hit me like a punch. Jealous, like I was somehow the problem. I felt the rage boiling over. I wanted to shake her, scream at her that I wasn't jealous. I was hurt, humiliated, and betrayed. But I kept my calm because I knew losing my temper wouldn't do me any good. Instead, I looked her straight in the eyes and said, "You've been fucking around behind my back, Lisa. I trusted you, and you lied to my face every time I asked what was wrong. I don't even recognize the woman I married anymore. You think this is just about jealousy? No, you've broken everything between us." She just shrugged, still acting bitchy and dismissive. "Whatever, David, if you want to believe that, go ahead, but I'm done pretending to be the wife you want me to be. I'm tired of your bullshit, your insecurities, your constant accusations. Maybe I'll stay, maybe I won't. Honestly, I don't care anymore." Her words were cold, dismissive, like she was already planning her escape route. I felt my fists clenched so tight they hurt. I wanted to slap her. I wanted to shake her and make her see how much she destroyed what we had. But instead, I just told her she needed to leave. I told her I couldn't be with someone who lied and cheated and didn't even have the decency to tell me the truth. She looked at me with that bitchy smirk, packed her things, and left the house without a real explanation. That moment was like a punch to my gut. She just walked out like I was nothing. I was stunned. Part of me wanted to chase after her, to scream at her to stay, but I knew it was over. The woman I loved was gone, replaced by someone I didn't even recognize. That night, I sat alone in the silence, feeling a hollow emptiness inside. All the plans I had, all the dreams we once shared, they were shattered. I kept replaying everything, trying to process the betrayal. I was hurt, furious, and honestly a little relieved. Part of me knew this was the end of an era, but another part was angry at myself for ever trusting her in the first place. I thought I was supposed to be the strong one, the stable one, but this whole ordeal made me question everything about who I was. I realized trust is so fragile, and when it's broken, it's almost impossible to fix. But I also knew I had to pick myself up and figure out what comes next, even if I didn't have a clear answer right then. The days that followed were a blur. I felt like I was walking around in a daze, trying to piece together what just happened. My mind kept circling back to everything: her lies, the affair, how I'd been played for a fool. I had no idea where to start or what to do next. Part of me wanted to call her, beg her to come back to fix what she broke. But then I remembered her bitchy attitude, the way she dismissed how much she'd hurt me, and I knew that wasn't someone I could trust anymore. I spent hours talking to my friends, trying to get some clarity, trying to make sense of the mess. Most of them told me to just cut her loose, that she was clearly manipulative and selfish. Others said I should try to work things out, that maybe she was just going through a phase. But honestly, deep down, I knew this wasn't fixable. The betrayal was too deep. Trust was shattered. There was no rebuilding that without genuine remorse, and I didn't see any coming from her. I started thinking about my own future. I realized I'd been so caught up in making her happy, trying to keep our marriage alive, that I'd forgotten what I needed. I decided I needed to focus on myself for a while, get back to what made me happy, rediscover my self-worth. I threw myself into work, started hitting the gym more regularly, and even went out with friends more often. It was hard, no doubt. Every time I saw a woman who looked kind, caring, or even just normal, I'd wonder if she was hiding something, if she was just pretending to be nice. One night, I decided I had to go back to my house. I couldn't leave it empty forever. I wanted to see if her things were still there, if she'd taken everything or just left a trail of her lies behind. Walking through the house alone was surreal. The walls echoed with memories, some good, most bad now. I found her purse, her clothes, her makeup, everything she'd left behind. It felt like a graveyard of what we once had, and I couldn't stop thinking about how she used to be, how much I had loved her. But that love was gone now, replaced by anger and disappointment. I sat on the couch, staring at her side of the bed. I knew I had to make a decision, whether to try to fix this or just move on. I felt a strange mixture of relief and sadness. Part of me wanted to fight for us, to find a way to forgive and rebuild. But deep down, I knew that trust once broken isn't so easy to mend. It takes genuine remorse and effort. And she'd shown me none of that. Instead, she'd shown me she was bitchy, manipulative, and willing to betray everything we'd built. That realization hit hard. I knew I had to cut my losses and focus on me now. I couldn't stay in this toxic cycle anymore. It was time to start over, even if it meant feeling empty for a while. Weeks turned into months, and I won't lie, every day was a battle. Some mornings I woke up convinced I'd made the right choice, that I deserved better than someone who lied and cheated on me. Other days, I felt the crushing weight of loneliness, regret, and even anger that I'd let myself get so blindsided. But through it all, I kept reminding myself that what I went through was a wake-up call. I had trusted the wrong person, and that trust was shattered beyond repair. The betrayal changed me, but it also pushed me to reassess what I wanted from life and from any future relationships. Looking back, I realize how much I learned from this nightmare. I learned that people can be manipulative and bitchy even when they're pretending to be innocent. I learned that trust is fragile, and once broken, it's almost impossible to put back together. I also learned that sometimes the best thing you can do is walk away, even if it hurts. Staying in a toxic situation for the sake of saving, it only prolongs the pain. I finally understood that I deserved someone who respected me, who was honest and loyal, not someone who lied behind my back and dismissed my feelings like they were nothing. I'll admit I still get angry sometimes when I think about what she did, how she lied to my face, how she dismissed my feelings, and how she took advantage of my good nature. But I've also come to accept that it's a part of my story now. I've started rebuilding my life, focusing on myself, and rediscovering what makes me happy outside of that mess. I still have moments of doubt, but I know I won't let someone else's betrayal define me forever. I've learned that I'm stronger than I thought and that I can survive even the worst heartbreaks. To anyone out there going through something similar, just remember, trust takes time to build, but it can be destroyed in an instant. Don't ignore the signs. And don't let guilt or love keep you in a toxic situation. You deserve honesty and respect. If someone cheats or lies, don't be afraid to walk away. Sometimes the only way to truly heal is to let go and start over. It's not easy and it'll hurt like hell, but in the end you'll come out stronger. Trust me, you're worth more than you think.